this is their opportunity to really shine powerfully in the world. So please lean in with me as we celebrate what they're doing, but so you know what they've been asked to do. I have asked them to share some way that I've impacted them hopefully in a positive way, but they have choice. I don't know what they're going to say, but that's what I asked. I believe that will be what happens. And then I want them to share what they're doing, what they're launching, what they're building in the world, so we're aware of that and we can celebrate that with them. So that's what we're doing here with the Amazing Success Panel. So ta-da, let's welcome them. I love it. And they have 4 minutes. That's where I was getting the 4-minute thing. So they have 4 minutes. It all connects to do this. So I'm going to start with the amazing Gary. And, thank you. If we could have our panel sit, that would be amazing. And then I'm going to introduce, I know it's such a big panel today. I'm going to introduce Gary. Now, Gary and I have been friends for a long time. We've been on the journey of life together, and I'm so excited for the book that he's launching, all that he's done, toured across the country, spoken on all these stages. He's changing so many people's lives, and it's an honor to have him back in the Bay Area speaking on our stage and sharing with us. So please welcome the amazing Gary Salyer to the stage. Woo!
Thank you, Rebecca. And I have to tell you, we are good friends. And this woman walks the talk. I remember when you used to hide out in the back of the room, fully dressed for like financial consulting. And she has blossomed and grown and become so much more. Everything you said this morning, you have lived for the last 6 years, step by step, moment by moment. And it is amazing to watch the person you have become. And I mean that seriously. Not just as a good friend. You've been to my birthday parties and everything. You're an amazing soul.
Need to know basis.
Yes.
What happens at Gary's parties?
Yes, Andrew and everybody else. I got to meet Andrew. Andrew's cool, man. I mean, he comes dressed stylish too, right?
Andrew's my husband.
Andrew, that's right. Andy, that's right. So, but really, I was doing some events, and I haven't done one for a little bit, but I'm going to come back into them. I've just been speaking around the country for 3 years. But I got to the place where one of the things that you really helped me most, well, there's two things. There's one, just be you. She's really great at being herself. And the thing I love about it is, when I came to her, I said, I want to start putting on some bigger events. I was kind of in that 13 to 18 group, and that's a great event. You can have a wonderful event, but I wanted to play a little bigger game. And she had bigger events than me, and I started having event envy. Size matters and all that other stuff, So she became my coach. And we had 62 at that event. It went from the last one was 18, and I had 62 at the next. And I had people saying, how did you do it? And if I remember right, I even think maybe Carol was at that event. But one of the things she just very lovingly, but very forcefully at times, would tell me, hey, this is how you do it, and this is how you don't do it. And really, you really helped me to design and attract a much bigger crowd. And that's important because every soul that shows up is someone that you can influence. It's a soul that wants to step out the change, and you don't know how many people they will. So it wasn't so much a numbers game as it was just in leveraging the amount of influence by attracting more souls to your event. And so I began to play a much more soul-oriented but yet effective way with how do I go about filling the room with people who truly, truly want to find the change that you're offering. And she just did it in such a natural way. I mean, I kept all those tapes from all that coaching. They're still in my hard drive. And
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that.
Beautiful.
Yes. And so, but most of what you'll get from Rebecca is if you're working with her, is just a very heartfelt but very effective way of stepping into your biggest self without even feeling that you're being stretched in a very loving, gentle way. The giggle helps, I think. It's sort of the WD. She'll land this reframe with this giggle, and for most people, like, oh, wow, but she does it with this giggle, and it's like, oh, it just lands so nicely. Did she just really call me on my stuff? Oh, my God. Anyway, that's really the game that she's helped me play. She's really helped me just step into my most expansive, loving self, and to expand in different ways. And I thank you very much for the role that you've played and the real inspiration. You are one of my heroes because I've seen where you've grown, and every time I think about the next level that's going to stretch me, I think, hey, Rebecca's doing it. She's got a radio, TV show. Now she's got a channel. So it's kind of keeping up with the Rebeccas. Thank you. It's really wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary. Love you too. Thank you. Thank you, Gary. It's just been an honor to be on the journey with you. And I love how you're shining out in the world and with such joy. And you guys are in for a little treat with his presentation coming up. So thank you for being you. My Cynthia. Now, Cynthia and I have been on the journey for a long time together, and it's been a privilege to see her stepping into all the different things that she's doing, and now this global reach as she's really helping people. And I love to see them. Now, I see people on Twitter now that used to not be on it, and they're starting to share out in the world and being inspired to do that, and they're getting support in their presentations and speeches, and it's just really exciting to see all of that. So I love the work that you're doing. Please warmly welcome the amazing Cynthia Stott to the stage. Woo! Oh.
I have a new name for you.
Oh.
Well, it's the Rebecca.
I receive.
And you are my authenticity hero.
I
was downloaded today, and God always told me to work with you in different ways. And I've trained with world champions of public speaking, and God said, you need to work with your speaking with Rebecca. And I'm like, why? Authenticity. She not only worked with my speech, she outed me as a business medium and made me share it.
And the wand and all. I remember.
But what I want to share today is the next time that God told me to talk with you. I was on stage in Tahoe, crying, and I was shaking like a leaf. And I was telling people how I was going to help them with their speaking, and I was shaking like a leaf. But I wasn't afraid. So I was terrified of speaking when I was young. In fact, my name was Miss Wiggles in speech class. But I wasn't afraid, but I shook. So I'm driving home from Tahoe, and I'm like, what's going on? And God's like, I said, why am I shaking? He said, because you care. You care more about this that you're speaking about than you've ever cared about anything before. And I almost drove off the side of the cliff. I was like, whoa. I said, but if I'm shaking like a leaf, who's going to train with me? I don't understand this. And he said, call Rebecca. And it was during her radio show. And I was like, but she's not going to answer. Call Rebecca, call Rebecca, call Rebecca, call Rebecca. Picked up the phone and she answered.
Pre-recorded. And that's unusual. We usually do it live, yeah.
And she told me why. And how I could shake like a leaf and stand in my power, and people would work with me. Do you want to know why? Yes. She said, that's beautiful. I'm like, but I'm shaking like a leaf. She said, you're vulnerable. open yourself and share with them what's going on. Tell them what's going on. And allow them to come into it. And this will endear you like nothing has before. You mean I'm supposed to tell them why I'm shaking and crying, and here I am again crying? And I step forward with that and more deeply and more deeply. And now I'm doing this impact your audience, touch their hearts and move their hands. And it was inspired by you, Rebecca, because you helped me to know, to touch their hearts. I had to be vulnerable. I had to be open, naked. And that's not only okay, it's a good thing. And I had spent my whole life in hiding, in fear. And I love that it's also connected with your audition program, because we're not affiliated, although we look like sisters. But in this, you can learn how to really touch the hearts of each and every person in the room. And then you can be videotaped in your 7-minute speech and send it off to Rebecca if you like. Because the fear of, I love that it's virtual, because I love virtual. But speaking to a camera only is hard. And I wanted to gather people together so that you could speak to people and then you could be captured on video. Thank you.
Thank you, my Cynthia. I love the work that you're doing. Beautiful. So this next lady, we've had many journeys together. And when I first met Kathleen, I thought she was this serious kind of, little bit intimidating kind of person. And the more I got to know her, she is wonderful and wild and fun and so gifted, and she can help touch your heart and really help you love yourself powerfully and others and have a great time doing it. A wealth of wisdom and support. I encourage all of you to lean in and get to know the wild, wonderful Kathleen Sims. Welcome her to the stage.
When I first met Rebecca, it was at the speaking forum. I was one of the speakers, shaking in my boots and fearful, even though I'd been doing it for years. You know, still, you have a forum watching you, and they're writing on their papers as they're watching you. And so I was very serious, for sure. I got to the end of my 7 minutes, and then the panel gets to say things to you, and they said, so did you forget your offer? I just did a 7-minute talk. I didn't make any offer at all. And I said, offer? What's an offer? I didn't know I could. And it wasn't long after that till Rebecca and I were in Los Angeles. We were both on a TV show, and we decided that night to go out. There were 5 of us, go out for somebody's birthday. So we went out dancing. And that's when she walked up to me and she said, oh my God, I didn't know who you were. I thought you were this shaking, serious woman that wouldn't talk about herself. And then I was talking about being single, and she goes, I think that guy over there is single. Do you want me to go over and tell him that you should meet him? And that's when I got to know the real Rebecca.
We can make that connection happen. I am results oriented.
Oh my God, I was hysterical laughing. Anyway, I've been in business for 28 years. I own the Center for Conscious Living, and the reason that I say that is, and I've been speaking and teaching for 28 years, and I met Rebecca, I think, about 3 or 4 years ago. And in the first 10, 15 years of my business, I went out, I spoke to groups with 700 people and so on and so forth. And I would get a standing ovation and a lot of people talking to me afterwards, and I felt like I was moving the room heart to heart and all of that. And then I would leave and go home and not get one client. Like, exactly. The silence in the room tells you. And so I stopped doing it. And I stopped speaking and so on, because I was like, I don't get it. What do people do? They took all my flyers, they took all my cards, and I didn't get any clients out of it. And that, that's the purpose of it, is to share my heart and to also grow my business. So I stopped doing it for years, 10 years maybe. And so going to the speaking forum was the talent search, was like the first of me coming out, even though I'd been speaking publicly for years. And here I do go in there, and I didn't know you could make an offer. And you see, at those other things, I hadn't made offers. I didn't know how. I'd say I have a workshop coming up, and then I'd walk off the stage, and I'd give them a date, and that'd be the end of it. And I realized that what I was taught was you shouldn't brag about yourself. And I hated networking, going up to strangers and saying, this is what I do or whatever. This is totally weird to me. So I was the best kept secret for 30 years at the Center for Conscious Living. A lot of people knew me in the center. So fast forward, I took a workshop with Rebecca, and the bottom line for me was transforming and reframing what offers are, from selling and bragging about yourself to I can't serve unless I do it. I mean, that is such a huge reframe, I can't tell you. And then I went out and I got all these speaking gigs. I've done the forum, the talent search several times. I also have been on the panel because I have speakers come to a group I facilitate called WOW, Women of Wisdom, once a month, and I have speakers. So I've been on the panel and had speakers come. And my business has grown by 35%. And it's because of Rebecca's authenticity and her ease and animation in making offers. It is unlike my picture of people selling. And that has made the biggest difference, I can't even tell you, in my business. Thank you, thank you.
Oh.
Yes, authenticity is the answer.
Thank you, Kathleen. Yay. I'm so proud of you and all that you're doing, all the lives you're touching. So, my Irma and I have been talking for years. Your children are now accusing you of stalking. She isn't. She's up from Southern California and is launching her television show next week. We're very excited to welcome her to the network and to the stage. Welcome, Irma Vargas. Woo!
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I am a retired public servant. I've always been an entrepreneur, but I thought that the traditional way to go was the way to be successful. And I was for a long time, and I would go down, and then I would be successful, and then I'd find another job, and then I became a single mother, and I was trying to raise my children. And so all those ebbs and weaves of life brought me to a point where I was all of a sudden 50. And I'm the youngest of 11. And I thought, how is that possible? I'm 50. My mother, bless her soul, is healthy, all there, mentally, physically, and 101. So in 2015, I decided to retire. And I thought, okay, this is my chance, do or die. I've got to do it now. Then I thought, well, my mom's going to be, 90-something. I have a lot of time. I could just relax and do whatever I want to do whenever, right? And I went to an event and was encouraged to do a summit. And I don't know if you know what a summit is, but it's a gathering of experts and you interview them. And I did my research and I found Rebecca Gruyter on Voice America. So I reached out to her And she said, I would love to do that. I told her what my vision was for my summit, and she said, and I know somebody else who would love to be on that, who is going through that journey too, Ron Kokia. And I said, okay, I'm gonna reach out to him too. And I interviewed 18 experts. And after that, it was fun, it was a learning experience for me. That's what I was doing. I was on a journey of learning. That's one of my strengths. And I'm a developer. And so I was developing information and I was doing all of this great stuff. And somebody said to me, well, what are you gonna do with that? I was like, I don't know. I just love learning. And they were like, okay. Do something with it. And I said, okay, what do I do? What do I do? And Rebecca sent me emails, how are you doing? What are you up to? And I would tell people, oh, my friend Rebecca. I said, friend Rebecca, as if we knew each other. I was so inspired by her. She was mentoring me. She didn't even know it. And then one day she reached out and I said, could I talk to you? And she said, of course. So we spoke and she said, well, why don't you try this? And I was like, oh, well, I'll call you later. I don't know about that. So eventually, with her kind, loving self, just kind of went, come on, you can do it. And I was like, okay, are you sure? I felt like I was 8 years old again when my 5 of 7 sisters threw me in the pool to see if I could swim. I ended up learning how to swim, by the way. But she was a little more gentle. My kids say that I'm her stalker because I've talked about her for the last 2 years and about all the wonderful things that she's encouraged me to do. And they say, we've never seen her. They know a lot of my friends. And I said, oh, I've never actually met her in person. Which is why I'm here today, to tell you, thank you, Rebecca, for being my mentor and for inspiring me to inspire others the way that God wants me to.
Can you tell them really fast about the birthday every day?
Ooh.
So just a little treat.
So, a little backstory. In my 20s, I had a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1.5-year-old by myself. So, well, I didn't have them by myself, but you know what I mean. Miracle woman! It felt like I had them by myself. I used to get up at 5:30 and get them ready, take them to my mother's, and go off to work. And one morning, I rolled over, opened my eyes, and it was 5:13. I thought, really, Lord? Oh, I just needed 12 more minutes. What's up with that? Then I looked again, and it was 5:13 still, and I realized 5:13 is my birthday. And in that moment, I thought, okay, what are you trying to tell me? I didn't feel like I was going to ever make it or feed my children without all the people that were helping me. I thought I was alone. And yet I knew I had all these people. I'm the youngest of 11. I've had nephews and nieces since before I was born. But I still felt alone. And in that moment, I knew that God was waking me up for a reason. Thank God I woke up, right? Thank God I could get up out of bed. I was healthy. I was strong. I had a job at that time. I had a car. I had a mother who could watch my children. All of those wonderful things. So from that day forward, I set my alarm at 5:13, and I woke up and I would tell myself, I am blessed. I am worthy. I am happy. I am healthy. all of those things. And I did that and still do that to this day. And I didn't share it until I spoke to Rebecca 2 years ago. So I encourage you to look at the time that is your birth date and tell yourselves how wonderful you are. Thank you.
Thank you. She inspired me so much on that radio interview. I have my alarm set to this day at 4:27 every day. I tried to do it twice a day, and that got a little rough. So I do it in the afternoon, but it's made a profound difference. So thank you. So Barbara and I met through my dad. And I'll let her tell the story on how all of that took place. And she leaned into the Speaker Talent Search and is stepping into so many amazing things. She has a comedy show that she is launching and syndicating, so it's on 2 different channels right from the start, that she is sharing her heart and her humor. I know you're going to enjoy her spirit, so please lean in and warmly welcome the amazing Bob Gross to the stage. Woo!
Thank you, Rebecca. Well, I'd just like to start by saying all my life, people would say I should be a comedian because I tell these stories, and they say, why do all these funny things keep happening to you? And I said, if you listen carefully, they weren't that funny at the time. So really, I know all these stories happen to everyone, and everybody has a choice. You can choose to laugh, or you can choose to cry, and I choose to laugh. But I just didn't know how to begin. I sell computer software, that's what I do. And I thought to myself, comedian? I don't know if I want the pressure of a cover charge. I like telling people, what do you want for nothing? But I wanted to be a motivational speaker. Well, how am I going to break into that? How do I do it? I travel a lot during business. I just travel a lot. I happen to be in San Diego waiting for a plane at the bar. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. But while I'm waiting for the plane, I happen to be sitting beside that man. He said to me, well, what do you do? I said, well, I sell computer software, but I think I'd really like to be a motivational speaker. He reaches down and gives me that woman's card. So when I got home, I went on the internet and I started reading about that woman. And lo and behold, there's an audition. I thought, let's try it. I want to open up the opportunities for a new career path. So that day, it never rains in California, does it? It was torrential rain. I could hardly see. I'm driving about an hour from Mountain View to Pleasanton. I finally get there, and it's time for my audition. So I'm in front of a panel, and I tell one of my stories, and after my story, I get some questions, and then I leave, and Rebecca comes out with me. And I was just so emotional. We were in the hallway hugging, and tears were coming to my eye, but it's all good cry. I didn't even know if I was going to be presented with any opportunity. The emotion, I just knew that it was right for me to be there at that time. And there was such a connection. She's such a heartwarming, giving, loving person that I'm going to start to cry. But again, it's good cry. Finally, I get a call. Barbara, there's a couple of opportunities. Okay, the first opportunity, I never thought I'd be an author. Now I'm an author of a chapter in Bloom Where You're Planted and Shine. I thought, well, okay, but then there was another opportunity I didn't even know, but she mentioned the topic, grandmother legacies. I have a grandmother story too, and I just felt compelled to write it. I wrote it immediately, and as I'm writing it, I'm crying my heart out to myself. Good cry. So now I'm an author in 2 books, thanks to Rebecca. And then an opportunity to be a guest on the Trisha Garrett show for Bright Light TV. And now my own show called The Humorous Adventures with guess who? Barbara. Now, I just wrap up to say that, I'm producing this and I'm having the time of my life. I just never thought this could be possible. And I hope you'll be part of my audience. Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Thank you. So our amazing MC, Linda. And I was calculating, I'm thinking it might be 10 years. Or more, we'll say 10-ish, that we've known each other a long time. And I love Linda's humor, her wit, her heart, her ability to lead so powerfully, and her passion to help leaders lead, and her willingness to step forward as a leader of leaders, which is a courageous act, and to empower them to step fully into their power. So please lean in and warmly welcome the amazing Linda Patton to the stage. Woo!
And you're staying.
Okay.
So we're going to see if this works or whether we end up with noise between the two of us.
I think we're good right
I
now.
think we're good right now. Rebecca, yeah, you're right. It's been probably 10 years, and we did start out as client to financial planner. So my husband was involved in that as well. So it was a threesome instead of a twosome. But I come from the background of, at 7, I got up and was on stage, did a brilliant presentation, and then in the back I was waiting for lauds from my parents and everything, and my mom and dad said, gee, you did a really great job, congratulations. And my grandmother's standing, this is my grandmother's story, standing in the back kind of glowering. And I can't understand why, and she comes up to me and she says, you should never stand up in front of groups of people and talk. You're just not very good at it. And this is what I carried on my heart for years. So talk about hiding. All through high school, the last thing I wanted to do was public speaking. I was on the Army recruiting team when I was in the military. I recruited twice as many people as the men did. And yet I kept saying, no, somebody else needs to do this because it's not what I do. And that's sort of how my whole life went, was I hid behind curtains. As Rebecca knows, I was an event planner. Event planners do not stand on stage. They're behind the curtain. They're the wonderful people like Brandy, but Brandy also plays like I do now, which is on both sides of the curtain. But I was hidden. I ran a 4-star general around and was very proud of it. But again, I was doing my job. It wasn't that I was leading a leader. And here's a real powerful 4-star general that has to follow what I tell him to do. So when Rebecca started her programs, and I was involved with the first few, and then dropped off for about a year or 2, and then came back, I said to her, I don't have a website. I don't speak in front of groups of people. I won't do a radio show. Please don't put me on television. It sounds like her, right? Don't put me on television. I'm never going to write a book. I won't do blogs. And please do not talk to me about social media.
I'm thinking, I can work with that.
Yeah. And she goes, what? There's a problem with this? So, needless to say, we've taken herding cats in a number of different directions, and my troop has changed. And what I'm realizing, and again, because of Rebecca and the people that I deal with her programs, I deal with powerful women who may or may not recognize themselves as leaders in what they do, but they command. And it's what I learned in the military. Okay, first thing, none of you stood up when I walked in the room. As the senior officer in this company, I would have expected you to all stand up, and you didn't. So I'm working with women who've come out of the military, come out of corporate, and are now entrepreneurs or solopreneurs who can't command. You now need to step into true leadership and influence. And learning that is a skill. And there are 12 of them. It's a recovery program for reluctant leaders. It's called The Art of Herding Cats, Leading Teams of Leaders. But because of Rebecca, I now have 4 compilations, my own book, and I'm writing a new one called No One Stood Up When I Walked Into the Room, One Woman's Journey from Command to True Leadership. And it's all because of her. And oh, by the way, I don't do humor, but if you find this funny, do laugh. It's a Groucho.
They're already laughing.
It's a Groucho Marx quote that I just love to use, and that is, out of 1,000 men, 1 is a leader of men. The other 999 follow women. So where are all those women leaders?
Thank you. Thank you. Aren't they amazing? Let's have our panel stand one more time. Thank you for all that you bring to the world and for shining your gifts so brightly. Thank you. Are you a speaker looking to reach more people with your message? You have a global vision that you want to touch the world and make a global difference. If so, I have an amazing opportunity for you. It's called the Speaker Talent Search. Again, that's the speakertalentsearch.com. You'll find all the details, but here are the highlights. With one application process, you get clarity on your message. You get to fine-tune how you want to reach the world. Then you'll have everything ready in one place for the opportunities when they come. Second, we select you as a finalist. You get to come in and audition with a 7-minute audition, open up the door to hundreds of speaking opportunities. I hope you lean in. I hope you say yes. We would love to hear your message, help you touch the world powerfully. Again, that's the speakertalentsearch.com. We look forward to hearing your powerful message.